Fasting. It's one of those words that can feel really intimidating. People imagine misery, long hours of hunger, headaches, and mood swings. And if you're still eating the standard American diet, that's probably not so far from reality. But when you take fasting and pair it with keto, ketovore, or the carnivore diet, something changes. It stops being punishment and becomes a tool that you can actually want to use. Today I'm going to break down the science of why fasting on carnivore is such a powerful combination, especially for women over 50. And I'll share some fascinating research studies, real life examples, and practical tips along the way. So buckle up and let's get started. Let's start with why fasting feels easier on carnivore. Picture this, you start your day with a fatty coffee, or bacon and eggs cooked in butter, or ribeye with scrambled eggs. That meal carries you for hours, maybe even into the afternoon. Protein and fat trigger satiety hormones like CCK and peptide YY, chemical messengers that tell your brain we're full. Without carbs, your blood sugar isn't spiking and crashing all day long. It's steady, calm, and predictable. No roller coaster, no 2 p.m. snack attack. That's why so many people on carnivore naturally drift into 2 meals a day, or sometimes even one. They're fasting without even trying, simply because their body finally feels satisfied. Now, what does the research say about fasting itself? A meta-analysis published in JAMA Network Open looked at 11 different trials on intermittent fasting and found that people lost between 2 and 7 pounds in just a few weeks, with much of that coming from the waistline. That's visceral fat, the kind that wraps around your organs, driving inflammation and metabolic disease. On carnivore, insulin is already low because you've cut carbs. Add fasting and you extend that low insulin window, making it easier to dip into fat stores on the body. For women over 50 who have fought that belly fat for decades, that's like discovering a secret back door that finally opens. And here's the thing, fasting isn't just about weight. Blood sugar control is huge. In one study published in Cell Metabolism, people with prediabetes ate all their meals between 8 and 2 p.m. Within 5 weeks, their insulin sensitivity improved, blood sugar dropped, and oxidative stress markers went down. And they didn't even lose weight. The timing alone created those benefits. Then in 2024, a clinical trial out of China tested the 5-2 fasting method in people with type 2 diabetes, 2 lower calorie days per week. 16 weeks later, and their HbA1c dropped by almost 2 points. For perspective, many diabetic meds only budget by 1 point. Oh, and they lost 21 pounds too. Pair that kind of fasting with carnivore, where glucose spikes are already eliminated, and you're giving your pancreas the vacation that it deserves. Now, let me paint a picture. One of my clients, a woman in her mid-50s, used to call 3 p.m. her witching hour. She'd be fine all morning and then crash hard in the afternoon. Hungry, hangry, cranky, foggy, and craving sweets. Once she shifted to a ketovore-based diet and added a gentle 16-8 fast, the crash disappeared. Instead of chasing sugar, she realized that she wasn't even hungry at 3 p.m. anymore. She laughed and told me, "I think my pancreas finally took a nap, and I didn't even miss it." That's the kind of real-life shift that science explains, but women feel. Now let's talk about heart health. A review published in Nutrients found that intermittent fasting lowered triglycerides by 25 to 30 points on average. High triglycerides are a major red flag for heart disease. Some studies even show improvements in HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, and in blood pressure. Carnivore already removes the 2 biggest culprits that raise triglycerides, refined carbs and seed oils. Fasting on top of that is like cleaning up the leftovers. Now, yes, LDL can sometimes rise on carnivore, but here's the truth. If triglycerides are low, HDL is strong. Blood sugar is steady and inflammation markers improve. The overall risk picture is much better. Now, let's stop obsessing over one number and look at the whole picture. Now, inflammation is another big piece. Fasting lowers oxidative stress and inflammation markers like CRP. Carnivore removes many inflammatory foods to begin with: sugar, gluten, processed oils. Put them together and you've got a 1-2 punch that your body notices really quickly. Women often tell me that their joints stop aching, their rings fit better, their stomach feels flatter, and their skin looks clearer. One client told me I used to joke that I had arthritis of the eyelids because blinking sometimes even hurt some days. After adding fasting on Carnivore for a month, she realized that she didn't ache anymore. That is the power of pulling inflammation down at the root. But the brain benefits are some of my personal favorites. Both fasting and Carnivore produce ketones, and ketones are not just a backup fuel, they're premium brain fuel. Studies show ketones provide a cleaner, more efficient source of energy for the brain and may even protect against cognitive decline. That's why so many women describe mental clarity, sharper focus, and steady moods. No afternoon crash, no brain fog, just reliable energy. I like to call that turning the lights back on upstairs. Then there's autophagy, your body's built-in cleanup system. When you fast, cells recycle damaged parts and toss out the trash. A 2019 review in Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology described autophagy as one of the most important processes for slowing aging. Think of it like a spring cleaning. You're not just shoving clutter into the closet. You're actually hauling out the broken junk so that your house runs smoother. And when you end that fast with a nutrient-dense carnivore meal, you're not rebuilding with cardboard and duct tape. You're rebuilding with premium lumber and steel. So what does this look like in real life? For many women, a 16-8 pattern works beautifully. Maybe you break your fast around 11 a.m. with a ribeye and steaks, and then finish the day at 5 with salmon and butter. Others prefer one meal a day, or OMAD, because carnivore meals are really filling. And some love early eating windows, like 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. once or twice a week, which studies show improve insulin sensitivity and even sleep. The best part? Fasting on carnivore doesn't feel forced. It becomes a rhythm. It's not deprivation, it's just eating when your body truly needs the fuel. Now, as women over 50, there are a few non-negotiables. Muscle is your best friend. We want to aim for 100 to 120 grams of protein daily and lift something heavier than a handbag 2 to 3 times a week. Resistance training protects bone density, improves metabolism, and keeps your body strong. Electrolytes are another biggie. When insulin drops, so does sodium, magnesium, and potassium. That's why you need to salt your food, drink plenty of water, and consider a magnesium supplement in the beginning especially. If you're feeling lightheaded, crampy, or waking with a racing heart, it's usually not fasting that's the problem. It's the minerals, or the lack thereof. And here's another quick tip. Don't fast hard every day. Cycle fasting days with full fuel days. Your hormones, thyroid, and sanity will thank you. Next, let's clear up some myths. First, fasting on carnivore doesn't waste muscle. With adequate protein and strength training, lean mass is preserved. Second, you don't need 72-hour water fasts for results. Even 14 to 16 hours improves insulin sensitivity and fat burning. That means that if your last meal is at 7 p.m. in the evening, you're shooting for your first meal around 9 or 10 a.m. A fatty coffee will not break your fast. So if that's your thing, go for it. My personal day starts with my bulletproof coffee that has 2 tablespoons of butter or 2 butter bites and a raw egg, all in the blender. It's an amazing frothy goodness. And my first meal, usually a light snack like my carnivore custard around 1 or 2 p.m., and then a bigger dinner around 5:30 or 6. That works perfectly for my body. And third, it's not too extreme. In fact, for most women, it feels easier because when you're fueled by protein and fat, cravings vanish and fasting feels natural. I've also found that I spend about half as much money each week on food, and that to me is a win-win. Now, let me share a day in the life example. Imagine waking up at 7 a.m. with a black coffee or tea, no sugar needed, but you can add heavy cream, butter, or an egg in the coffee if you'd like. You do your morning walk or light workout, maybe stretching. Around 11 a.m., you break your fast with eggs and bacon or maybe a ribeye. You feel satisfied for hours. Dinner is around 5 p.m. Salmon, sardines, maybe lamb chops with butter or a burger patty with fried eggs on top. After that, you're done. You relax, you sleep well, and you wake up not starving, but steady. No evening grazing, no midnight pantry raids. That's fasting on carnivore, and it feels calm, not chaotic. So here's the bottom line. Fasting is so powerful. Carnivore is powerful, but together they are next level. You get fat loss, blood sugar control, improved heart markers, reduced inflammation, sharper brain function, and cellular cleanup, all in one sustainable package. For women over 50, this might just be the simplest, most effective way to reclaim your health, your energy, and your confidence without obsessing over calories or food rules ever again. Now, if this gave you any aha moments, hit that like button. Remember to subscribe and share it with a friend who's ready to feel amazing again too. Drop your fasting questions in the comments and tell me your favorite carnivore break the fast meal. I might just try it out here on the channel. And as always, be good to yourself and be good to others, and don't keep loving life over 50.